Hello and welcome back to A Squirrel Plays. Since the last video was about such a controversial and heavy topic, I thought we'd be a little lighthearted this week and talk about what happens after death. Or at least, what happens after your tabletop character dies. A couple months ago, How to RPG left a comment on my video about player death being controversial on 5e, mentioning that a fun video might be about how to continue after a character dies. I'm not sure what exactly they had in mind, but this is what I ended up with 2 months later. So, you died, you're on the floor, you done bled out, your party wasted their potions trying to bring you back to life, but there your body lies, unmoving and without a soul. What do? You like and subscribe, that's what, yes, nailed it. And now that you've gotten the important stuff out of the way, you find yourself at a crossroads. Is it time to make a new character? Is it time to take a break, find a new group, immediately jump back in? Or order a pizza and watch the rest of your mates kick the bucket because you were the one carrying the entire team this whole time? Let's have a look at some of our options and see what we can come up with. And yes, this is not specific to any TTRPG. It could be D&D, Pathfinder, ICRPG, Conan, or whatever you're playing that tickles your fancy. We'll start with what you can do as a player when your character dies, and after that, we'll talk just a smidgen about what a GM can do. Alright, so this is your character when you started. And this is your character after the last session. Assuming this is, or was, am I right? Was a campaign character, there's probably some mixed feelings right about now. Depending on your personality type, you might be a bit sore or a bit bothered. With any luck, you had a decent session 0 and were aware that death was a possibility in this campaign. But even then, if you're feeling a bit ill about the whole thing, I would suggest taking a step back and asking yourself why you feel that way. Do you think the GM wronged you or singled you out? Did it feel personal? If the answer is yes, I would still recommend sleeping on it at least for one night and then seeing how you feel the next day. If you still think it wasn't a proper death, then reach out to your GM and have a one-on-one chat. No need to bring the whole table into it and put everyone on the spot. And I realize that I already said I recommend sleeping on it at least one night, but I'm going to say that again. I really do recommend sleeping on it at least one night. And not just for this, anytime something big happens in your life that causes a lot of feelings and emotions. A good night's rest goes a long way. But by waiting, you also don't immediately confront what you're perceiving to be an issue when feelings and emotions are at their highest. It's just better for everyone to have a clear head and some good sleep. And now that that bit's out of the way, let's move on to the next one. If I were playing in a campaign and my character bought the dust.
Another one bites the dust.
The first thing that would come to my mind is, do I want to keep playing? And not because I'm upset, but because TTRPGs do take a lot of time. Sometimes we think we can pull it off time-wise, but after several sessions in, we realize some responsibilities have started to stack up on us. An unexpected character death might be an opportune time to catch up on those life responsibilities and get reoriented. There's no reason you immediately have to jump back in with another character, and this break period might give your GM some more breathing room to allow a more interesting entrance for your next character should you decide to come back. But as always, do make sure you communicate with your GM and party members if you decide to take a break. Let them know you got some responsibilities to catch up on and that you'll be back and that there's no ill feelings. Communication, boys and girls, it's a lovely thing. And now that we've covered the business end of dying, let's move on to the more interesting things. As somebody once said, to die will be an awfully big adventure. Or, as How to RPG said, character death is just a different adventure. I would also add that just because your character died in that particular adventure doesn't mean that they're gone forever. Nobody ever said you had to run your character sheet through the paper shredder. Tuck that character away somewhere and save them for another campaign or a series of one-shots. Keep them alive. The character you made only truly dies when you forget them. A player character's death is a chance to start anew, a chance for something different, a fresh start. If you're playing something like D&D, there's a whole slew of classes and spells to choose from. Most likely, you had a hard time choosing between A or B, and now you have the opportunity to try the road not taken. Though I would encourage you not to make another character that's super similar to the one you had previously. I can understand the desire, and this is just my 2 cents, but I feel like both you and those around you would get more enjoyment out of something new and different. Your deceased character played his part, and it's time to move on. So if you were the goody two-shoes paladin before, maybe now it's time to be the barbarian who likes fighting a little bit more than he should. Or perhaps the dastardly rogue who absolutely refuses to steal from women. The smooth-talking con man artificer who can't sleep at night because one of his inventions got a child killed. The big, strong, rough-looking fighter who giggles when he's nervous. I don't know, man, it's your character. My point is, death really can be a new start. And not only is it a chance to explore new game decisions, such as choosing between the warrior and rascal in Easy D6, but it's also the chance to explore new roleplay opportunities. Hopefully, by this point in your campaign, you're already familiar with the other players at the table. You know what is and isn't too much. You have a good understanding on what's safe to explore and what's a little off limits when it comes to playing a new character. Or in other words, what might be annoying and what might not be. Now might be the time to try and spread your roleplay wings a bit. You could be an absolute scallywag.
You could be an orc that speaks right proper, chip chip, cheerio, spotty, and all that sort of rot.
You could be a strong, manly man with all brawn and no brains. Ha ha!
Wait a minute.
Or maybe, just maybe, you'll be one of those dwarfs.
Hey, did I hear rock and stone?
The point is, you're getting a fresh start. Embrace it. That's the joy of TTRPGs. You get to live many different lives. And on the topic of role-playing, I'll share a tidbit of advice that Glee discovered a good while back that she says really helped her out. When she was trying to get into the whole role-play thing, she said she found some advice that said to lean into a character that is opposite of what you are, or at least very different. So if you're the quiet type, maybe lean into a character that has a lot to say all the time. On the other hand, if you're the boisterous one who always cracks the jokes, maybe try somebody who is a bit more reserved and speaks softly. I think part of the idea was that this will help break you out of your shell if you have one. And yeah, I could ask her, but she was at work all day when I wrote the script and got stuck in a 4-hour meeting. Can you imagine? I mean, what a loser, going to work and making money instead of staying home like a bum pretending to be a YouTube star.
What am I doing with my life?
But even if you don't have a shell to break out of, it will help you stretch your imagination and roleplay muscles. If anything, it seems like decent advice to me. So embrace death, lads. It's nothing more than a new beginning, and if that doesn't keep me from getting monetized, I don't know what will. And if you'd like to warm yourself up to the idea of your character dying and starting anew, might I suggest Mausritter. It's a pretty darn fun game with an easy rule set to pick up, and making your character is
super easy, barely an inconvenience. Oh, really?
It's actually faster than Easy D6 if you can believe it. It's so fast and simple that they even have a QR code you can scan and be ready to go in a single click, complete with the color of your fur and even a disposition to play into. I suggest Mausritter not because character creation is easy, but because you are expected to die in that game. The way it was explained to me when we played was that generally you come from a colony with plenty of mice, and nobody really expects the whole party to come back from their missions. You just quickly roll up another character for the next one and go about your merry little way. Easy as pie. Or cheese, I guess, in this case. Now, what do we do on the GM side of things? Well, just like the player side, let's cover the business end first. I feel like it's a fairly decent practice to check in with your dead player post-session. Again, not in front of everyone. It probably wouldn't hurt to get that good night's rest I told you about either. Sometime the next day, reach out and give them a shout and see how they're feeling. Inquire about their plans for jumping back in, or if they'd like to take a break and catch up on life. If it turns out they do need a little break to catch up on things, you might mention that to the rest of the group and see if anybody else needs a few sessions to catch up on life as well. Death does make for a good place to pause. Remember, tabletop is a group activity. And for the more entertaining part of what a GM can do for the player death, let them go out in style, man, a blaze of glory. Let them die with their boots on. I'm a big fan of last wins and final breaths. When the baddie lands that final blow, instead of just letting the player go down for good, give them one last good swing, or heck, give them a free spell slot for one last fireball. Sure, it breaks all the rules and probably even the turn order, but who doesn't want to go down swinging? Or if they're the more supportive type of class, let them get off one last heal to boost the party and finish the job. And if a sudden player death makes you realize that you might have overestimated their survivability, you can have the dying character's last attack do something to cripple the enemy. Maybe the barbarian's dying swing of the axe lops off an entire arm of the enemy attacking them, or cripples their movement. Maybe the paladin's deathly cry to his god strikes terror in your enemy as divine light shines down from the heavens, giving the rest of the party an opportune moment to strike, or flee. Or, maybe the wizard just decides to self-destruct and kill everything around him, meaning the party has to roll a dex save or something. The idea here is to at least do something more than, yep, that's 0 HP, you're dead. Unless they're a fungal, because then it doesn't matter, they'll just regrow and be right back at it next week. And you know what else you could do? I have no idea. That's all I got. We're at the end of the video, so shout out to How2RPG for having the idea for this video in the first place. And believe it or not, he's actually a fairly large channel, or at least compared to mine, he's pretty massive. He's got lots of videos to watch and interesting things to say, such as this particular video right here. And if I'm not mistaken, I think not too long ago, he did an interview type of video on OKSDM's channel. Or maybe OKSDM was on How2RPG's channel. Regardless, these two goobers were on the same video at the same time talking a bit about world building. I saw it myself. Well, like 2 minutes of it, then I had to hit the road, unfortunately. And speaking of OKSDM, he may or may not have a pretty big announcement in the near future. So look at that. 2 shout-outs in one video. Got to make up for that last one. And that's it, ladies and gents. I'm done. Give me those sweet, juicy tips on how you handle player death as a GM and how you, as a player, handle your own character's death. Do you have 10 characters in reserve ready to go at a moment's notice? Does it break your heart? Do you embrace it and come back all shiny and new? And what was your most exciting death?